Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. We're going to make over a few items, and I'm going to start with this sewing machine drawer. And as you can see, it's kind of rough and it doesn't have any special ornamental features on it, so I'm going to try to take care of that. And I've drilled holes here because my plan was to screw these cabinet knobs on the bottom, but then I didn't want the screw sticking up too far into the drawer, because I would have had to add washers and stuff to make this not too the screws not too long, if that makes sense. So I just decided I'm just going to glue it like this and hope that that holds well. I'm using Type Bond, and I could go ahead and paint these first, but I decided to just paint the whole bottom when I paint these. So I put these on here and let them dry, and then I can work on the rest of it. Generally, with many of my projects, I'll use a little bit of hot glue also, so that I have some permanent hold, and then some quick hold with the hot glue. But the hot glue tends to hold it up off the surface a little bit and keep the other glue from taking as good of a contact in some cases. So I didn't want to take that chance on this, so I just had to wait this one out. And now I'm going to add a mold to the front of this. I could do it both sides, but I'm just going to do it to the front, and I'm using the DAS clay and a redesign mold. And now here I've given the whole box, including the bottom, one, or actually 2 coats of the color buttercream, and or I'm finishing up a second coat of the color buttercream. Because I'm going to be doing some decoupage on this. And my friend Myra sent me some beautiful decoupage napkins, and I'm going to be using one of those on this box, and actually was able to cover the whole box with just one of those napkins. And because one of the colors in the napkin is real close to this tea rose, this is a Dixie Belle color. Also, the buttercream is a Dixie Belle chalk paint color. And so I decided to paint 2 coats of the color tea rose on the inside. And I just felt like that would just add a little extra to this. So, like I said, 2 coats on the inside. Now, I did have to finish the inside off with a clear coat, since this is a chalk paint. I didn't worry with doing the outside because the outside is going to have the decoupage on it, so it's not going to need that extra protection. But on the outside, like I said, I'm going to use this beautiful napkin that my friend sent me, and this is so pretty. I really love this napkin. She sent some really pretty ones, but this was actually one of my favorites. And so, as it turns out, I was able to use just this one napkin to finish this whole project. And so what I did was I separated the layers, and I'm thinking that this one had 3 layers, this napkin. So you just pull all those back layers off, whether it's 1 or 2, and you're just going to decoupage with the outside part of the napkin that has the image on it. And if you've never tried that, that makes a really pretty decoupage. It covers really well, and it fits really well, and doesn't have to, you don't have all the wrinkles, because napkins are porous. Then your decoupage medium, whatever you decide to use, I'm just using Elmer's glue here, will go right through that napkin, and you won't have the air bubbles that sometimes you get with some of the other papers. So I just covered this whole thing, and what I do is just kind of wet the edges well and with a napkin, and you can just kind of pull that right off. And then when it dries, you can take a sanding block and neaten that up. And I don't know about you guys that have booths or stores, but I am really behind on getting my Valentine decor out. And I've had a lot of people ask. So although this vignette is not limited to Valentine's Day, I'm doing some things that will lend well to that I will be able to use in vignettes with the Valentine decor. And for this mold, I let this one dry overnight. And generally, I don't do that, but this is going on a flat surface, so it's going to be fine. And I'm going to be using some gilding wax on these. And so I just put a layer of clear wax first so that I didn't have anything take too strong and be too harsh, because I'm kind of wanting to blend here. And I'm using silver gilding wax and zinc and bronze, and I'm just adding and wiping and adding and wiping until I get the look that I'm going for. And I kind of had an idea in my mind, the finish that I wanted, but sometimes you just add until you get a look that you like, and honestly, that's what I'm doing here. So I love the white on this, but I always want that detail to show up better. And I just felt like these colors would kind of look good in the items that I'm working on today. So I'm going to be using this gilding wax on different items. Now, instead of using gilding wax, if you don't have that, you could paint this a solid color and then just dry brush another color over the top. So whether you wanted dark on the bottom and light on the top, you could just kind of dry brush different colors over it if you don't have the gilding wax. So if you don't have that, don't worry, you can still get that same effect. So as you can see here, I'm using my sanding sponge to both distress and neaten up the edges of this. And then I just added a little knob. I don't know how I didn't get that in my video, but I just added a little knob to the front. And as you can see there, my husband is going to have to cut that down, but I didn't have time to wait on him today, so that little screw from the knob is sticking out on the inside. So I have several at one time. I had several of these cast iron angels, and I think I've done one before on a video. This one, I'm going to paint it 2 coats of the color buttercream, and I want this one to look very aged because although these don't sell when they're just cast iron like this, or just the plain color that the cast iron comes, they're not old. But once I paint them and distress them, they sell really well. And for some reason, if you can make them look really old, they sell even better. And I make sure that people know that my cast iron is not, or most of my cast iron is not old. But they're going for the look, and for some reason people just prefer the really aged look. So this one, sometimes I'll just paint them a shade of white and then just do some light distressing on them, but this one's going to get some heavy distress. And I'm also going to use the gilding wax on this to give it more of an iron look. So once this gets 2 coats of the color buttercream, then I go over this with a clear wax to, for one thing, to seal the paint in and protect that finish more. But also, I'm going to be using the gilding wax on this one, so I want that to be more subtle. And as you can see here, with this gilding wax, I'm just kind of rubbing it everywhere. And I'm not being precise with this. I'm doing it in a hurry, actually. I have sped this up, but this is not anything technical here at all. I'm just kind of rubbing this on until I get the look that I want. And again, I'm using all three colors, the bronze, the zinc, and the silver gilding on this. Again, you could skip all this and just do some heavy distressing on it. I'm kind of just playing and seeing what kind of finish that I can get. And I just kind of keep doing this, and if I get too much on, as I have here, then all I have to do is go back over it with some clear wax and tone it down. So it's kind of hard to go wrong, because any mistake you make, you can just go back and fix. So I wanted to get down in the creases better though. So I am taking some brown wax here and just concentrating that down in these creases so that it looks like the color is kind of settled down in there. It just kind of makes it look more authentically aged. And then of course I'll just wipe all that away. And now I'm just taking my sanding sponge and just very heavily distressing this. So no problem if you get too much distress. I actually, like I said, wanted a lot here. But if you get too much distress, I feel like this looks like old statuary here. And that's kind of the look that I was going for him. But now I thrifted these little wall sconce, little wall shelves, and I'm going over them with some candle, with a little candle here, because I'm going to be dry brushing some color on here, but I'm also going to be going back and distressing. So I wanted some of these tones to come through also. I love the tones that are on here, but there's just too much brown to suit me. And I want this all to work together in one vignette, so I'm going to be adding some of the gilding wax to this also. So I'm just dry brushing. I'm not putting much on my brush at all, and just kind of brushing over the high spots and just creating more dimension in the color, although there is a lot in this. I'm just kind of keeping that dimension, but adding some of the colors that I'm using with my other items. So I do that also on the top. On the top, I just kind of dry brush in one direction. And then, like I said, I'm just going to rub on some of those gilding wax colors and until I get the look that I want. So again, I'm just kind of playing here and getting some natural distress. As far as more of a deeper distress, I'll get that when I do my sanding. And I'll just use my sanding sponge on this also and add some more distress. And like I said, it'll come off well because of that candle wax being on there. So I know that many of you will prefer just the white with some distressing. I've kind of gotten a little hung up on these gilding waxes. I just feel like they add so much character in aging. So when I'm working on a vignette like this, where I feel like it will blend well, then I'm using it. And like I said, these gilding waxes go a long way. As you can see here, I'm just kind of using off the lid of this one. But I don't know, I can see if you don't do heavy crafting, I can see one of these little containers lasting a year or more. For me, I think it even will. So that was the zinc color that I put on there. It's just a darker gray. And now I'm going to add some of the bronze. And then I'll just kind of blend it together with the silver. And that's kind of the process I used on all of these. And then to further blend it, then I'm just going over it with some clear wax. And that will just kind of bring everything together. And then after I get it blended together with the wax the way I want it, then I'm just going to take my sanding sponge and and add some extra distress around the edges. Like I said, none of the items that I'm doing today are limited to Valentine's Day. They're just going to display well with it. And I try to do that a lot because Valentine's Day is just not one that a lot of people decorate for. And if they do, just add a few little items. So I myself don't decorate for it very much at all. But I do have some regulars that really like it. And so I've had several to ask me when I'm going to get mine out. And like I said, I'm just really behind. So I did want to get some items out really quickly. And I thrifted these pieces some time back, but I've been saving them for Valentine's Day. So I probably should have done them up ahead, but that was my plan when I bought them. And that was also my plan when I bought this little, I'm not exactly, I think it's made out of some sort of clay, this little angel. And it's a little wall hanging, but it's a clay and it's kind of heavy. So my plan with it was also to make it a good little shelf sitter piece instead of using it on the wall. I don't think a lot of people use these on the wall. So this one is just going to be something that you can kind of lean on a shelf and use as decor. So I thought with it having the angel on it, this would do well for Valentine's Day also. So I'm going to do the same finish on this. I'm going to give it 2 coats of the color buttercream, let that dry, and then put the clear wax on it and the gilding waxes, and then heavily distress. So now I will say that when I went to distress this one, it wanted to sand through to some of that clay. So I wasn't able to do the kind of distressing that I normally would do on this, but it's still, I like the look that I got, but I didn't get that dark look underneath from the distressing. And I forgot to mention that part of the process on this one also, I used some of the antiquing brown wax on it. So again, I just kind of played with it until I got the look that I wanted, and I just felt like it needed some of the warmer tones. So I decided to add some. I'm using Krylon brown wax here, but any brown wax will do. I'll have a lot of people ask me what brands I use, and honestly, I use a lot of Dixie Belle products simply because I sell them in my store, and they're good products. But if I can find something else on sale, or somehow I just get a hold of something else, then I'm going to use that also. So just use what you have. There are liquid waxes. I know that Waverly has a liquid wax, and to me that's a lot different than the creamier waxes, and for some projects I like using it, but for many of the projects I feel like it pulls too much of your paint off. So I will say that I prefer the cream waxes for the most part. And I feel like for many of these projects, the best tool is your hands. And if you're like me, I've kind of given up on my hands ever looking good. So I clean my nails up really good for church on Sunday. Otherwise, they just are what they are. But your hands, I feel like, work really well for this. And then the last item that I'm going to do is the silver plate tray. And this was going to be a very simple one because I ordered this rice paper from Amazon, and I'll try to include that link. I got, I want to say 5 or 6 of these, but I'll leave that link, and I'm just going to cut this to fit the inside of this tray. And I'm just, as you can see, just measuring here by by sticking it in there and creasing it with my fingernail. And then I'll just take it out, and because I don't want this to be an exact cut, then I'm just gonna take a little paintbrush and paint it, paint some water around that crease, and then I'll just be able to tear that more easily, and it'll be more of an organic look. And I thought about painting this, but I just kind of like the look of that aged silver plate on this particular piece. So, like I said, I'm just going to wet the edges and then tear this little angel out. Rice paper is another kind of paper that I just really like to decoupage with. It's a little bit stronger than the napkin, but it does decoupage really well. So like I said, just outline this with the water and then just tear it out. And then I'm just going to glue it right on with some Elmer's glue. That's what I use a lot of times for decoupage. Sometimes I'll use the Mod Podge, but sometimes I'll have my little glue bottle handy, and I just decoupage it with straight glue. I'm making sure here that I have my outline really wet, because this is a little thicker paper, so I wanted to make sure that it tears easily. And you don't have to worry with this when it comes to napkins, because you just have to get it a little wet and it'll tear very easily. Now you could take this one further and add more to it. I thought about adding some shabby roses to it from cloth, but I just wanted to keep this one more simple so that it displays well in my vignette. But this could actually be taking way further than I'm taking it today. Now I did go with this one. I could have put more of the glue on top of it, but because I thought this might be used as a tray, I did, once this dried, take it outside and sprayed it with a clear matte spray. And I think I used Krylon, but any clear matte spray, I just wanted to give it some extra protection. So now I'm just going to take my time and take you through my vignette a little slower. I know that I'm bad about not showing my after very long, and I've had some people mention that. So I'll just slowly show you through my vignette. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.